Welcome everybody to the Environment Committee. I think we're all fully aware now of the various recordings going on, so I don't need to go through that. First item, apologies.
Apologies received from Councillor Cash, who's substituted by Councillor Heritage, and Councillor Gillam, who's substituted by Councillor Cooley.
And thank you both very much for doing that. Two, any declarations of interest?
Yes, I've got two. I'm the Communication Officer and Webmaster as a block holder for the South Harpenden Allotment and Garden Society. That's a non-pecuniary interest. And also Secretary for Sport for the play areas at Oakley Road and Magna Place.
Thanks.
Yes, please. I'd like to declare personal interest that I'm trustee of East Harpenden Gardening Club and allotment holder in reference to Agenda 7.14, Westfield Allotment Free Work, and also a pecuniary interest as an allotment holder in the grants to allotment societies.
Fine, thanks.
But I'd probably like to speak before that, and do I have to leave the...
Yeah, I'm afraid you're
but am I allowed to say something referring to it or ask a question before I leave?
I think you can ask a question, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So, Chairman's report and urgent items. Everyone will have had the addendum about the Westfield House and Face groups. If we could go straight, I know we're going to receive these in a minute, but I do want to alert you to 10.3 on page 3. Okay, that is definitely that's inaccurate, so we shall be taking that out. Okay. Alright. Okay, so we'll go to the minutes of the meeting held on the 16th of September. Can I take these as an accurate record?
Yes, I wasn't here, so I can't.
Thank you very much. Do you have a copy of the sign? Okay, so the first one is the Common and Open Spaces meeting. And if anyone has any comments to make that, we'll just note that report. If people are happy to just note,
Yes.
then I'm happy to go ahead. Okay. And the next one I have is the minutes of the Harpenden in Bloom Working Party.
I think it was okay on there. I've had a thoroughly good look at them, and it seems that everything is on there. And as you can see, we've Harpenden room competitions. We've agreed that not every landlord for the public house section does have time to create and maintain their gardens. A lot of them do, and we think they all should be entered anyway, and then the best one chosen out of whoever it is.
Okay. And at the bottom of page 17, Pat, there's a recommendation.
Oh yes, this is to do with the hanging baskets, isn't it? And with regard to provisions for hanging around, wrapped around the baskets on business premises and columns. Well, the number of hanging baskets should be reduced only if, as a result, that the number of available columns or hanging buildings for hanging baskets are reduced. And we are looking into this with Hearts and Highways, because apparently we need permission. Again, it's health and safety, and it's a damn nuisance, but it has to be done. But I understand that the hanging baskets for the winter ones have gone out this week and are attached to the buildings where they can be attached.
Right.
So that's going forward a bit.
Okay.
Yes.
Has everybody had a chance to read the recommendations? You can see there are 6 of them. If anybody does have a comment, let me know. Otherwise, I'm prepared to take all 6 in one go.
I think, just query, it's not going to alter anything. I just would like to know the reasoning for saying donations for hanging baskets should no longer be requested. Is that just the reasoning behind that, actually?
Sorry, which one are you on?
That is this, the one there that says donations for hanging baskets should no longer be requested.
Well, that's right. I personally am against this, I must have to say, really and truly I should be, because I think we need all the money we can get.
So I...
And the hanging baskets do cost, have always costed them in the past. I can't see why we shouldn't charge for them anymore. But anyway.
But the working party felt, if I remember correctly, that the problem was the onus was on the independent businesses. The chains don't donate money, and it seemed a little inequitable to ask independents to pay, and then some don't, and they still get a hanging basket outside anyway.
Yes.
So that the logic was, it's not fair charging the few.
Yes, thank you, Liberty. Putting on a Chamber of Commerce, I had to agree entirely with you that it is unfair that the independents will do these things when you'll find all the multiples, and more and more we've got that side of the east side of the high street is that way round, and they don't. So it means it's only the west side of the high street and that's independent. So I'd have to agree with you. Okay.
Any other comments? No. In which case, can I see if we accept the recommendation?
Yes.
That's unanimous. Okay, then the sports forum that met, I think that's just one to note, unless anybody has a question or query. That's the Spring Nature Reserve Working Party. There are no recommendations, so again, just to note. Okay, and then we'll go to the action tracker. So the first item, the storage depots. We are actively looking now at other options. I know this is taking a long time to sort, but we are putting feelers out for different locations, so that is an ongoing, as it says, the status. Air raid shelters, we're waiting for the outcome of grant application.
We're making a grant application to the Sharing Heritage stream, which allows us to undertake consultation with community with officer time with Christmas festivities coming up. This will be undertaken in 2016.
Fine, okay, the Westfield Recreation, we're going to discuss those separately in the addendum. Concourse improvements. I don't know if anyone has any comments to make about the concourse improvements.
The seats have been treated, the notice boards have been removed, 2 new litter bins are in situ. I would urge members to consider what they would like to see done in this particular area. The birds in the trees mark the seat. There are several pavers missing around the seat area. So perhaps some action may be required on this item if members would like to give us some direction.
Do we have any comments?
Yeah, I was against the sort of previous proposals that were put forward, so I thought they were a bit too sort of glitz and glam, overpowering the waste of the site. which I think is always pleasant because it's brilliant. However, I think that it is an ongoing problem. I was dwelling on this over the weekend, such as the excitement of my life, on the bench, and my memory of the bench is always that people always used to, when I was growing up, was that people were always sat on it, whether it was particularly retirees in the afternoon, and then after the schools had chucked out, you'd get large groups of teenagers, and you don't, obviously, these days, because it's covered in guano. So what is it that happened then, or didn't happen, that has changed? Because obviously nobody would sit on it throughout time, it was always in the terrible state it is now. So was there something that was happening then that kept the birds off it?
No? Not being more apologetic, I couldn't comment.
Or were people just more resistant towards, or less hygienic in those days? I don't know, back in the 80s, the 90s.
Is it the trees overhanging it?
It's
It's
pretty big, isn't it, now?
Is that the problem, that there wasn't, was the tree so much smaller
They
there?
hung it, but probably not quite as much, maybe.
This item has been brought to the Environment Committee before, and we've talked about trying to actually redesign the whole thing. And at a bare minimum, we were thinking of trying to put a different surface around the bottom of the tree, because of course the tree roots are lifting up the pavement, and that's what's causing problems. I think, personally, I think we could do more than we've done, and we could make more of it. It's my...
So I just certainly think, so long as we do keep the bench or the thing, because that is a feature, people do use it. I do. I sort of even just a pause.
Yes.
But it is a feature, and I think it's necessary. But somehow, I don't know whether you can have an overhang or something. I don't know. But maybe a redesign, but it could be looked at.
How would you feel about not having it under the tree and moving it, so that there was still quite a sort of nice, attractive seat to use?
I worry it would try to replace it.
Yeah.
Yes. And we come back to the feature. It is very much a feature around the tree, actually. So I'm not quite sure how we can deal with the mess, but.
Well, I just wonder if there any sort of cover might be viable
Yeah.
for it, actually.
Yes.
An attractive cover.
Yes.
Well, I think what is worth looking into. I think we could put this on the wish list and come up with some ideas for next year.
My feeling was it's just in the past when we said, let's have a look at it, it all sort of spiralled out of control. We were looking at £10,000.
Yeah.
It was, as much as I don't want to talk ill of a town council who isn't here, I thought the proposal was put forward and very much driven by county work. They were out of keeping with the street scene, the Harpenden, I think most people know it, and at the risk of sounding, it's not like it's a bit vulgar actually, an HEC. I don't want to see a return to that and a waste of all the money and officer time on doing something that we don't want. So something restrained. And when it comes to pavers, well, go and replace them. It's not rocket science. We do everywhere else.
No, it's not that part. It's just that the tree roots will keep lifting them. So it's whether or not we can think of something else.
Another type of
For the immediate, just that's the immediate area. Probably be sensible.
Is it just that the street was cleaned more often
Yes,
previously?
it could be.
Is it that the amount of mess hasn't increased, it's just not actually being cleaned? Can we look into that?
Could that just be tweaked or put as a bolt on into the ground space contract?
So I think we'll bring that back as a report.
Yes.
Possibly not January meeting, the following one, if that's all right.
Yes.
I think that would be sensible. Crabtree Field. I was going to ask Emma at...
Yes, members will be aware that the clerk is waiting for confirmation from the district council regarding any liabilities that may come with the transfer of the land from the district council to the town council. He has now received confirmation because obviously the nature of the land has been used for landfills, I understand, in the past. Whilst the officer of the district council said there hadn't been any issues raised when the scouts put their planning application in for their hut, that we would be liable for anything that came to pass in the future. So it's for members to consider whether they want to proceed with the transfer of this with any liabilities that may on with it.
Thank you. Dan?
I knew there was something from the agenda earlier. I should have declared personal interest in this, rising from my membership of the district council. So it doesn't directly come under my portfolio in that place. Possibly, I don't know whether it's inappropriate for me to remain in the room. There could be some guidance if members are considering whether they want to take on liability.
But you just said it's not totally within your remit. I'm happy to stay if you think it's not under your portfolio. If you're not...
It's not something that comes to us as a councillors to decide.
No, it's not prejudicial, so I just wanted to declare an interest to these.
May I suggest that members wouldn't be making a decision anyway on that they would just be saying that could we investigate forward any liabilities, so it would be a report that would come to a future meeting, I may suggest.
So we're all right, yeah.
Because it would affect three of us.
Right. So, well, with that caveat, what do we think? Is it...
I think if we do understand the liabilities that are currently being paid, yes, then we'd be able to make a recommendation, wouldn't we?
So it is really, we need further report.
Yes.
Yeah.
Reports on possible liabilities.
Okay. Good. Batford Springs grass area, fairly straightforward. Unless anyone has a comment. The allotment devolvement. Again, Emma.
We're very close. We are the top of the pile.
Right.
We've been involved. So within the, well, I wouldn't like to put a time scale on it, but yes, we're very there.
Okay. Any further comments on that? Yes,
Just wonder whether the allotment society has been informed that they would be transferred to HTC. You know, this is sort of part of the process here.
I think they have been. It's because it's been going. Going on quite a while. But yes, I think they have been.
It was mentioned this morning at the allotment.
Oh, there you
go.
Oh, good.
Okay, Lydic Park Management Plan. So we're still waiting for that one and hope for the plan to be ready in March.
Things may be slightly sooner than that. The clerk did attend a meeting with John O'Connor's and we envisage that the management plan will be brought forward because of the application for the Green Flag Award.
All right, good. Okay, any rough idea by how much?
That was only this morning.
Oh, right.
This afternoon, the clerk advised me of that, so I've got to look at time going on.
Okay, that's good. Right, Harding Parade Trees and Planters. This is a definite perennial. Michael?
Yes, so it's a bit of a history here. Because I used to have a store, and that's where, as it is in the 70s. But trees are important there because they provided shade. It was very sunny. The sun hits it hard in there. But the bunds are falling down, as we know, and it's been an ongoing story. But I'd say beware here. I don't want to see the thing replaced. I had put through at a previous meeting, and others had thought about this, I would like to see Herts County, I think it is the one place we can relieve pressure in the Station Road traffic congestion. If a lay-by was there, a bus stop was there, that you would still have trees, but they're just set back a bit. But as you know, the buses stop on the left-hand side of the road. No one can go up and down. There's no lay-by for them outside the post office.
Yeah.
So what worries me is if we got them to replace the bunds or the trees, because it's going to be a real problem actually, because they've got to take the trees down. But there was a previous councillor who is no longer here. He said he'd tie himself to a tree if chain himself to one of the trees if they were to be taken down. But I want to see Herts County Council brought into this because that's a longer term thing. I know this has been stretching on, but I think this is one of the answers to the traffic congestion problem there coming down the hill. And
thank you, Michael. Ben?
I think there are three key issues here. One was the sort of safety of the planters with bricks coming out. As far as I can see visually, that is nowhere near as bad as it was when it originally came to this council about 8 years ago now, actually.
yes, that's right.
And the problem was people were, started thinking about chucking them through shop windows, and there's been no report of that kind for some years, which is good. And I think the planters have been sort of made right in that sense. The issue is though that then the roots are going to get smaller. I think the other one is of the actual trees. I think it would be a shame to lose trees altogether there because you would get a spank in the shops, it would be really horrible. You couldn't put certain stock in front of the window and things like that. And I also think it would kind of brutalise that street scene. It's not particularly attractive, 1960s block. Though I know there's a planning application hanging in the ether somewhere. Congestion, I agree with what Mike says actually. It does need, I think we do need to get county in and look and see what the art of the possible is, because there might be a long-term sustainable solution. What I would be worried about would be if we did something that damaged the amenity of that space, because you've got wayleaves granted at the moment, I believe, by the county council for places like Passachivo. And also, it's quite busy. If you go there at rush hour and you see residents of the town, it's a very wide pavement. It is chock full of pedestrians. You couldn't, it's very easy. I think making it smaller would possibly make it less pleasant. It would be good to get the buses off Station Road. I think actually, I'd almost be tempted, I know some cynical say, actually what Station Road needs to also congestion is a police officer or a traffic warden to be around at a certain time to say to people, no, you can't park in the middle of the road. I mean, people just drive in the most asinine way around the upper part of Arden Grove and around Station Road sometimes, and it's dangerous. That's actually what causes the issue. And maybe having double yellows there rather than single yellows in certain places, or even taking on the number dimension of double red maybe, but in certain parts, because it is dangerous sometimes. But we're sort of victims of history, because you've got the bit at the bottom of the Station Road where the thoroughfare narrows for traffic. That doesn't help. But that's the built environment that's dictated that. So there are a lot of issues to look at. I think in principle the idea of getting the county to look at it would be better before we sort of make an knee-jerk reaction on a situation that seems to have calmed down a bit.
Well, there's nothing that we as the town council can do, because districts aren't engaging with us. Because the district are the ones that control that part. Sorry,
I would concur with Dan's thing that I think this is where we've got to do this properly, and I think we've really got to, even though it's maybe a long way in the agenda, but I do think that county must be brought in, and we could request in whatever form we do to this traffic management scheme or whatever it's called to be brought forward.
Okay, thank you.
If SADC are failing to engage, isn't it possible just to ask them a question in the next full council meeting? I think it's 2nd of December?
Yes.
As the town council, I'm sure either one of their representatives could ask a question on our behalf, which they'd be obliged to respond to.
I see where you're with that. No, I see where you're going. We've been trying to engage with the portfolio holder, and that's really the route we've been going, but it's working.
So can I just mention as well, because I've been paying closer attention to the bicycle situation in town at the moment, and realise Harpenden Parade is turning into a bicycle park and perhaps that's something I know it's not our remit to provide, obviously all the bike facilities in the town, I'm sure, but if there isn't enough at the station, then maybe that is something we should be looking at, providing some sort of cycle racks there, as opposed to where we were thinking of putting them outside Pizza Express, I believe, wasn't it? And also definitely the ones outside the Harpenden Arms, I believe, being used by commuters. So at the moment, you see that they're pretty much always full up, but also at the bottom of Vaughan Road, they're also attaching them to lampposts. So the ones in the middle of town, outside the library, are almost always empty.
Right.
So I don't think it's actually visitors to the town, I just think it's commuters using most of the bicycle racks. So I think if we move the ones from the Harpenden Arms further away, they're actually less likely to be used. So maybe we need to think of approach it, at Harpenden Parade.
Okay, David.
Chair, if this is commuters, surely the station should be considering they haven't got enough spaces, and British Rail or whatever they're called these days should be persuaded. We have a good liaison with them that there's not enough cycle racks to extend the cycle racks they have in the car park. I'm quite against people leaving bikes attached to any kind of structure in the town all day, whether it be a cycle rack or anything near pavements, and leaving them there while they commute to London.
Yeah, okay. So I think we've got a few ideas there. So district again, and we'll see whether or not we can do that.
I understand that the clerk is preparing briefing notes for Councillor Ellis to take to district council.
Oh, good, good.
And then Govia for the cycle.
That's it, Govia.
I think this drifted away from what Michael's proposing. The district is there on the safety of the kilometres, and you can ask that question of Councillor Reid, and he may well turn around and say it's not an issue, and that's your answer. And they don't, that is their interest, is the planting and the trees. That's it. The actual space is highways, and I think I'd rather than just do the district, and be back to square one and discussing this again. Can we move this, because we've got a lot of items in the action track that don't move for the time. Can we move this forward by actually approaching county? County might turn around and just say, they just don't have the money, like that. But it'd be good to approach them and say, what is the art of the possible, guys? Because the issue with the cycle rack is important too, because we have to take them away from the Harpenden Arms, according to the later item. I agree with David about not having them attached to railings. I'd far rather commuters did that, because there isn't space on racks, than drive all over Harpenden and park when they shouldn't. So.
No, I agree.
But again,
I think we need to have a look at the station, at the cycle racks in the station, and see if they're actually full.
So just conclude, I go along completely with that. That's why I started with, when I opened this up, I said, beware, don't just let, I don't think we, although it's been a long delay, I don't think we should be making the approach to district. I really think we've got to get highways involved and get them to come back, because it's a longer term thing I think we're looking at.
Yeah, I think we've got that. Okay, thank you for that. Oh, yes, right.
Just wonder whether Hearts Highways could gather data, because we're making an assumption that the people using those bike racks are commuters. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're just people shopping in Harpenden. Just gathering quick facts might be.
A quick visible look at the bikes in the morning and see if it's still there in the afternoon.
Right,
I think would convince me that they weren't shoppers.
Okay.
There were two there this evening, actually.
Right.
Quick one. I agree we should talk to Govia about the station. The one thing is that a lot of commuters I've spoken to over the years have said they don't trust parking their bike in the station, even though it's proper racks. And that's because the station don't keep an eye on them. They're in a secluded area and people nick them. And I've sat in this committee before and this guy's happened to nick mine. And speaking of the bike only, if you use it a lot, it's an expensive investment. And for a lot of people, just replacing 250 quid upwards of bike, because that's a lot. And I think I would always prefer to have mine outside Bowers, on Bowers Parade, where I know, Harding Parading, where I know that actually it's in broad daylight, the public can see it, rather than, in a secluded dark corner of the station where somebody can, not get spotted for 5 minutes while they break through the chain.
Well, I think we can add that concern when we talk to Govia too. Okay, thank you. So, Oakley Road and Magna Close play areas. I was going to ask you, Rod, what's your feeling on this? Do you think that we still want to devolve it to the Town Council or leave it to district?
I think we should leave it with district for the time being. And the reason is that Oakley Road is at a critical stage right now. The sort of final quotation has just been received. Nick Sharif at St Albans District Council is going to raise the order, and it probably won't be installed until the spring of 2016. And I think to devolve it at this stage would create a lot of complications. Magna Close, that's a possibility. We're really just about restarting on Magna Close now within Sport. So I kind of feel it's something that we should put on the back burner for later next year. And reconsider it then.
Okay, thank you for that. We'll do that. Okay, so now we go to the item on the forest schools. So we've got two recommendations, that the report's noted and that we grant permission for the school to continue for spring and summer terms next year. Anybody have any comments on that? No? In which case you have to go straight for a vote. Those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you. you. Fitness classes in the Vicar Park. Again, recommendation. It's agreed to use the Vicar Park to run fitness sessions on a permanent basis. Subject to that, the sessions are detailed in paragraph 3.1 and 3.2, and the amended licence fee. The licence fee was straightforward, wasn't it, how we arrived at that? So, any comments on those recommendations?
It was just, sorry,
Yeah.
it was just really having a policy for where we could decide, make a decision on who would run the fitness training. I think right now I understand one person's doing it, but supposing there are several applicants to undergo, to run the fitness training, how would we decide who would do it? What's the process?
Well, as I think you said, she's the only one who's asked to use Liverpool Park.
And it would be on a 3-year period, obviously with break clauses in that. If this particular fitness instructor decided that she didn't want to carry forward, then we would obviously encourage someone perhaps to go forward if members decided that was the course they wanted to take.
I think it's a good development, and I welcome it, particularly in the light of no complaints to us, and I think it's worked well so far.
Yeah.
Obviously, there are break clauses for the trainer. I just wanted to confirm that there would be break clauses available to the town council in the event of any of those conditions being breached, or residents being unduly disturbed.
Okay. No further comments? In which case, should we take the recommendations? Well, there's only 3 of them. Take them as group. Those in favour? Yep, that's unanimous. Thank you. The next one is new sites for meadows. This is very straightforward. Recommendation. So it's recommended that views expressed by local residents not to maintain the site of Johns Road as meadows be agreed. So straightforward. Any comments?
I simply want to make the observation. I think I'm entirely unsurprised by the feedback, and I think it's an absolute shame that we've had to go through the office of time and expense to this town council to establish what we already knew.
Yeah, fair point. Michael.
Having spoken to a lot of residents and particularly seen what the consultation, I think I'm appalled to think that there was this thing about the meadows. It was this one of the most pleasant places that they could ever be for public use, school, children, picnics, everything. It was the most marvellous area for things, and I'm just amazed that we went down this line. Anyway, so you say the recommendation is spot on.
I can only agree, actually, that I think it was a good idea to consult the residents, whether it was just to back up what had been voted amongst the council, and I can only add to it that I express the desire for the same sort of consultation for Batford Springs, and actually if the meadow is going to be increased there, I think the residents there should only be afforded the same ability to express their wishes. So I don't know quite how this consultation came about, but I would request that the same could be said for Batford Springs.
I can't disagree with that. It's just been said there by Pip, and I think we should be consulting all the places. But what this has arisen from is councillors who are no longer here, who I think went a bit meadow crazy without actually realising what meadow meant. And meadows haven't been managed anyway. But yeah, can we just be careful? It's sort of turned into a loaded word, meadow, which is a great shame. But we should be, I think, looking at everywhere in the town, thinking, well, wait, a meadow, unless you're grazing alpine cattle on it, you're actually stopping public community use. And we have residents, in this case it was Pat and Linesford, who we knew wouldn't want to lose that amenity space, and I imagine that's the case in all sorts of these areas where in the past some people got rather carried away with meadow here, meadow there.
Yes.
Fair enough. Okay, so strict recommendation. Those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you. Next one is the boot camp on the common. And you'll see that the recommendation is not to grant permission for the boot camp. Does anyone have any comments or observations?
Just on the, in the summary, it says the instructor would not be making any profit. I can't believe that we I mean, I don't know for what good reason they're doing it, but I think, I mean, I go along completely with the recommendation, but I'll just pick on that. Anyone could come along for a bit, but I can't believe that they wouldn't be doing it for profit at the end of the day.
It was all just a little bit loose, wasn't
Yes.
it? Yes.
So go on with the recommendation.
Whereas on 310 I thought was quite powerful words, because that would create a precedent.
Yes.
Whether it was allowed.
Yes.
True.
You don't know where you're going to end up.
And we can always offer him other open spaces. It doesn't have to be the commons.
Well, that's the Chair's quite right, didn't you? There are other, you've just obviously agreed Lilac Park to be used for. There is also funds down at Marquis Lane, Horses Hill, and you've obviously just agreed to keep the area in front of St John's as a meadow area, amenity space for all users.
Yeah. So shall we go straight to the recommendation? Those in favour? That's unanimous as well. Thank you. The next one is BCAG use of Factor Springs HQ. This one asks us to consider the report and advise the clerk on the decision. Does anyone have any initial comments, observations? Well, I think what I would say is that we were granted permission to knock down and rebuild the HQ on the understanding that it was for the volunteers. So I think with that in mind, I would prefer to keep the arrangement that it is recognised as that's the Springs HQ. Now, it's up to them when they're installed whether or not they feel that they could offer it the space, occasionally, but I don't think we can be looking at a shared arrangement for this.
So I've just realised I should have declared a personal interest in this as a member of BCAG, so
Thank you.
I'll stay.
Thank you.
To the conversation and the vote.
Actually, can I just...
One question.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Have you got one? I
Well,
was actually saying now that we've actually seen the designs of the building and such a constrained site, I don't think it would be useful really for the BCAG. It's too small.
Okay. Okay. In which case, I think we go straight to recommendation. Those in favour?
The recommendation.
Oh, sorry, the recommendation is what the...
Well, it's noted, and we're saying that the decision of the committee is that it's for the use of the BSC.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's right.
So that is 6 and 1 abstention. 6 abstention. Yes. Thank you. Bradford Springs Consolidated Project Plan. So, did you have the 2-page report from the BSC that came separately? I think if you have a chance to look through this, I think it's a really exciting plan. I think it could be a huge step forward for the area. The main thing with regard to the town council is that we are not fundraising. This is something that the volunteers will fund and find funding for themselves. So actually all that we're doing is granting them permission to sort of go ahead and test the waters for grants and do their plan. So I think it's fairly straightforward. Danny, then Michael.
Yeah, I think this is really exciting. I mean, on the back of sort of something other members have built up much more expertise. Last time I was involved with Bradford Springs was about 4 years ago. But I think it's really great because where you've got all sorts of schemes like this elsewhere in the district, we've got Hertfordshire is home to something like 60% of the world's chalk stream rivers. And they're in decline because extraction of water for the growth population has decreased flow, and that's really damaged them. It's leading to silting up of a lot of riverbeds, and obviously that has a knock-on effect on the environment and the habitat. So if we've got the enthusiasm and the expertise with the volunteers, and they have the funding available to do this, I think this isn't just something we should be proving, but really shouting from the rooftops, because river walks help improve awareness of this. A lot of people don't realise it's acidic, I've just mentioned, and a lot of people I think don't realise that actually that grassland habitat, that sort of marsh almost, that helps oxygenate the water better, which internal better knock-on effects of wildfire in the area, and it also helps filter the more unpleasant potential toxins and things that could come as a result of that silt and the slower.
Yeah.
No, I have to, Dan's used one of the words, I think it's one of the most exciting things and best things that could ever happen to Batford. I think if he puts Batford on the map, and I can see north of the bridge, going that way, where the housing development is taking place, I can see there's a walkway probably intended there. This is not part of this scheme, but I can see the whole area being vastly improved and well deserved, and about time too. I think it'd be marvellous.
Yes, I'd just like to say I am concerned actually. I know that the volunteers in their working party meeting mentioned that they wouldn't just be able to have wooden paths, but they would have to be raised boardwalks. And I am concerned that they would actually be quite slippery when wet. So I don't know how the town council would stand in respect of health and safety regarding that. But my major concern is, although there's no specific mention of it in any of the text or in indeed the working party meeting itself, from the map it looks very much like the volunteers are suggesting that the boundary of the reserve is altered and that some of riverside allotments are taken into that, and therefore it looks to me like they're suggesting to incorporate a pathway through riverside allotments. Being that I think we've got the best take-up of those allotments that we've had in years, these are fully utilised now. There's been no discussion with the East Harpenden Gardening Club. I don't know what their intention is, or how many allotments they intend to take, how much land, how they intend to fence off the boardwalk in that area. Obviously the pedestrians wouldn't be able to just walk through the allotment, so there would have to be some sort of fencing there as well. And who would be liable to look after that boundary, etc. So unfortunately I wasn't allowed to speak in the working party meeting, so I wasn't allowed to address any of the members of it. So I have absolutely no idea what their intention is for the allotments, which is deeply worrying.
I think sorry. Sure, okay. Gosh, his name's gone.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. My brain, it's not you. Ian. Isn't Ian going to address at the end of this month?
As far as I know, that was about the meadow.
Okay.
That was why he was asked originally to come to speak to BCAG.
Right.
But I don't know that anyone's coming to the allotment club to discuss the allotment.
I don't know, but we can certainly pass that on.
But I've heard, nothing, it wasn't discussed at all in the meeting, so I don't know for what reason, but that's, I'm afraid I won't be able to agree anything in principle until I know exactly clearly what they're suggesting.
Okay. Any other comments? David?
Sorry, the comments that Pip's just made don't make sense with the map I've got in front of me here. Boundary of the reserve, the green does not include any allotments. I mean, you haven't got a different map to me, because the green map, this is not outside the boundary.
Yeah, but this green here...
Yeah, that's the edge of the river. Yeah.
That's the boundary of the reserve.
Yes, sorry, you said it was including the allotments in your statement.
The allotments...
I'm worried because it's on camera.
Yes, yeah, no problem. The allotments go down as far as the river.
Yes. And
it says that the red line is the river walk.
Right.
So that's the allotment side of the river.
Right.
And then
the statement you made said it was the allotments, including the allotments, and I think that was incorrect.
So what was included in the allotments?
No, you said you thought the scheme was including the allotments, but it's only part of it adjoining the river.
Well, they're intending, by the looks of this, they're intending to put the boardwalk through the allotment.
Okay. Sorry, it wasn't clear what you said.
Right.
I think actually, just to clarify, the boardwalk part is for the sort of boggy area. The rest of it's going to be parked. Just the raised bit.
But still, it would be on the allotment land, looking at this.
Where I'm picturing it, no, I don't think it would. But we'll get clarification. We'll get clarification. Right.
Can I just say, I think it is, as Pip says, it's worthwhile querying with them with regard to the allotments. But I think though that the Blackford Springs volunteers should be commended for their hard work and enthusiasm. Really. It's a tremendous achievement from these people. So I do agree that you need to make sure there isn't an impact on the allotments, but I think it is a fantastic piece of work.
Thank you. Okay. We ready to go to recommendation?
Yep.
Okay.
So can I have a recorded vote, please?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
So, those in favour of the recommendation? Yep. 6. Okay. And against or abstention? Okay. Okay, thank you. Next one, bus shelter West Common Way. So again, you've all had a chance to read this and to the recommendations. I have an objection to 212. It says agree to consult with residents to ascertain if they wish to. We're just going to come into the worst part of the weather. I think this is something that we should get on with straight away. I really don't feel the need to consult residents in that area. The bus shelter is in the poor state. I think the decision that we have to make is whether we repair or replace. And I'd like to sort of leave out the whole section about the residents.
Completely agree. I think it's not up to the residents to decide whether or not other people maybe less mobile than them should be wet or dry as they wait for their bus. I don't think it's at all appropriate. And actually, many children wait for buses there because they need to get their bus into either Berwick or St Albans Girls' School, very often I've noticed. I would say that if we do replace this, yes, can we get on with it quickly, but can it be a proper decent bus shelter that goes in the area? So it's a design made out of hardwood, which is going to last for at least the next 20 years. So it's a sensible investment.
Okay, Michael.
2 or 3 points. Firstly, if you do ask the residents, I mean, I used to live at 3...
No, we're not going to.
No, if you did, I'll just point out the
Right.
nonsense of it. Because I used to live at 3 West Horn, which is probably one of the newest houses to the thing. And I would have said, yes, replace. But then, how far do you go? Because people come from the uplands and all, the children wait, are dumped there, or put, so they can. So you would have to ask almost the whole of the West Horn area, which is huge. Secondly, this is a key one. As you enter town, it's a key place or something that delineates what we are. And I don't see a quality place. So I would like to see a decent thing put up. I don't know. What I wouldn't like to see is something like we've got in the town centre put up on a metal object and things. It's got to be like it is now. It's similar, and I don't know how much that would cost, but I do think it's worth it.
Well, we've got 3 choices of different types, but I just was checking that they are all hardwood, which they are. Yeah, excellent. So they are all hardwood, the options that we're giving. So we have 3 different styles. I think...
Yes.
I think it's definitely worth actually replacing rather than repairing. This does seem a bit too far gone.
Sorry, I was going to say, it is definitely worthwhile replacing, because the problem with repair is another thing then goes, so you're just possibly chasing.
That's very true. So now our decision is which one we go to, Eton, Newstead or Surrey. As you'll see, there are cost implications.
Oh, yes.
They go from 18.5 plus that down to just over 13 plus that. So there's a significant difference between them. And as far as I've just realised, I've quoted you for the 2 shelters rather than 1 shelter. But you'll notice that the shelter on the other side of the road also needs, if not TLC. So then,
I personally think the Eton style ones just look a little bit too modern for my antediluvian taste. But so I think we should go for the Newstead one. And I think we're going to have to fight about it and go for bigger ones, because actually at peak time it is, as Michael was saying, it's actually a surprisingly heavily used shelter.
Yeah.
And the smaller Newstead ones just don't really cut the mustard.
So So you prefer to go for
News.
Sorry. Sorry?
News.
I never realised
Don't want
until
any
the
glass.
report came forward. Bus shelter styles had sort of, class names.
So the new style shelter is smaller and doesn't have the window.
Oh right, well I want the bigger one with the windows, please.
Yes.
Right.
Do we know the size of the existing one? Because it needs repair or replacement, but so far it's not overcrowded. The information I'm hearing, what would be the equivalent?
I don't think we can say it's not overcrowded unless you're there catching bus at peak time and what have you.
So I've certainly seen it very, very busy.
I mean, the fact that people go and view things to on a production line sort of thing, they don't build it to order, so I think it's almost overkill. But the production at 4.6, page 48, the electronic mailed out, these pictures don't show up for future reference, but the production at 4.6.
That's the size.
Are you talking about that one, Dan? Sorry.
Yeah, the one that's on the page, on page 48. So if that's that is pretty much what's there at the moment.
That's a good picture.
Not showing up on my iPad.
So, sorry, you're saying here in 4.6 here, the new speed type shelter is smaller and doesn't have the window of the existing shelter, so
We don't need
the new
windows.
speed would be too small.
Yes.
So the new feed is smaller than the Surrey. So the Surrey is the larger one, and then you go down, and obviously therefore it reflects in the cost, which is £18,500 for two shelters. Then you obviously then go down to the Newstead, which doesn't have the glass in the window.
Do we have preference for glass? Not glass? We do have
Not
preference for glass. Michael and then
No, I was just saying, first point is that it is heavily used, and I take it, having lived out there for lots of years, I know it is, and I'd go, the glass thing, wind does go through, so it is, you'll minimise the number of people, so yes, I do go for glass,
right.
and I do think the larger one is better, so rather than going for the Surrey, obviously, that way, and both sides of the road.
Okay.
Yes, I'd like to say it's quite an investment actually, although it does say that they last for over 50 years. I mean, I don't know how true that is,
Yes.
but I think if you're standing waiting for a bus and it's inclement weather, the last thing you want to do is keep sticking your head out to see if the bus is coming.
That's
but
true.
also, actually, a couple of thousand cheaper that the Newstead style is. I just think you do look quite exposed in that one still. It hasn't got much depth to it, whereas I'm sure the Surrey style would actually keep you dry and out to the wind. So if we're going to go for replace, I would definitely agree with Michael that the Surrey style is better.
Thank you, Daniel.
This is the street team. It's a gateway into Harpenden.
Yes.
So I kind of propose that we just get on with it and go for the Surrey.
Yes, I'll take a vote on the Surrey. I was also going to ask whether we feel as if we ought to be doing more with one on the other side of the road, or does that need to come back to the next committee meeting?
Well, if you notice item 4.9, there's 4,100 in the revenue budget, which could be used for repairs, but there's an earmarked reserve of 20,600 for replacement shelters, depending on whether you went for one or two.
So we could actually...
But that would wipe out your reserve for going forward.
True. Well, we definitely wish to go ahead with the first one. So should I take a vote on replacing the first bus shelter with Surrey?
Sorry, just before we do that, the top and glass is an option for me. That's quite expensive, £380, but...
Good idea. Good idea. Michael and Daniel.
Sorry. Personally, the other side of the road, the east side of the road, is actually, because it's more exposed, it's actually more just, it's actually probably more necessary than the other. But that's just where it comes off the golf course, the wind and things. I think this is it is an investment. It is. Daniel used the word gateway to the harbour. That's the upside of the road, would be the gateway out. But I personally would like to think we could consider the two.
Daniel?
Yeah, I agree with this. Quite frankly, this is one of those extras that residents gain coming into town council. Is what we thought. We're going to collect revenue. I'm not a big fan of being spendthrift, but this is an investment. Let's have the hardened glass, of course. Let's have the best kind of bus shelter, and something that, because it's not just throwing away money or being spendthrift, because it's an investment that's going to last and look good and serve a good purpose to help people for 20 years to come.
Yeah.
So, yes, the top spec, both shelters replaced. That's what I'd like to propose.
Okay,
Yes,
all right.
I second that.
And David, you want to say something?
No, I was just saying about the guarantee they're giving us. If presumably the company can guarantee they are going to be trading in a year's time, because with all bus shelters they occasionally get vandalised, especially ones out in the country. Half of me was against having one with glass, but with toughened glass I can be convinced. But wooden bus shelters, temptation to set fires, but if there is that guarantee there that we can enforce, I'm happy that 5 years would be a good investment.
Thank you. Pip and then Rod.
I was just going to say, there's no reduction in price for having two as opposed to the one.
No,
There is.
It's 500.
Not a great. I mean, these photos, I guess, are just for the worst one, aren't they? So I mean, I have to be honest. I have no idea if the second one is in a terrible state of disrepair or whether
It's not in as bad a state of disrepair as the one in the corner of West Common Way, though it does need some repairs to the shingles on the roof.
Okay, so the prices quoted for the repair of that, they seemed quite good in comparison with the first one. But what I didn't know was, I mean, it's got obviously to erect the scaffold for the first one and make the repairs, which is over £1,000, whereas the other one would just be replace some of the tiles, etc., £160. I didn't know whether that was scaffolding that could be used for both.
I would have thought it probably wasn't actually scaffolding, it was probably just a scaffolding tower.
A tower that they would use for, so I don't know whether that price for repairing the second one would actually go up if the carpenter wasn't going to get both repair jobs. So if we say we'll only replace one, but then repair the other one, would he then come back and say I'm not coming out for it wouldn't just be £160 to repair the second one? So that would be another issue.
Okay.
I hear exactly what Pip is saying. If the second one, the one on the left going up, isn't in such a bad state, but I do think this is the gateway into town. It is an investment. I think we've got. I'd rather see something transferred from reserves to meet this. I think it's one of those occasions when we would be doing something of benefit to the town.
Fine. Last comments from the university.
Yeah, sorry, I was going to ask, how long do we think this second shelter will last? I know it can be repaired fairly cheaply, but are we going to be faced with this situation in a year or two's time? In which case...
Or you could budget for it. You could say, okay, we'll take one bus, we'll put one new bus shelter in this year, and we'll take it out of reserves, and we'll put it in as a new item for next year's budget to replace the other one.
There was a proposal that I proposed was seconded by Michael that we replace both bus shelters and we take the money from reserves.
Yes.
I was going to ask that could we put that to a vote?
No, I think we've exhausted it. Yeah. Okay. So we'll take that vote then. To replace both bus shelters, take money from the earmarked reserve. Those in favour? Yep, that's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for that one. Okay. Next one is the cycle stand. Just to explain again, that the reason we're taking the cycle stand away from behind the Harpenden Town is because we've been asked to. So, and we were thinking that we'd put it outside Pizza Express and try and make that area more attractive. So, for those of you who were at the meeting last time, we didn't think that the Sheffield type of bicycle rack looked very attractive, so we were trying to find something that would enhance the area rather than look quite so municipal.
Even though that style of rack is throughout the town.
Yes, that's true. We would be making a different style. Daniel?
Yeah, it was sort of my fault partially asking for this. Figure 6 looks very functional. I looked at that and I thought, oh dear, well, pleasantly enough, photos have been working on this. I like figure 6 because it looks functional. However, in terms of what I meant by sort of that penny farthing design, figure 5 has that nice style of design, especially if you have coated it, which is going to improve its longevity as well.
Yeah.
As we said, before we get the barrage questions about how long it's going to last and maintenance. I think we should do this not because it's, we shouldn't go for the Sheffield design just because it's all over the town. We should do this and go for the higher grade because where we are proposing to put these is actually in rather a pleasant focal point as you come into the town, as you go down the Triangle Narrows, and then you've got the Harpenden Town here, and then you've got Pizza Express and everything else in that little square there. We want it to actually look nice, and I think the form, shape, the design of figure 5 is better for that public realm than the sort of rather functional sort of figure 1. But I guess it's all, it's a Bauhaus or dirty.
Again, I'm going to concur with Tanya on this one. Don't mean to do this all the time, but this is the entrance to the town. One of the beauties of coming, you've got the Cricketers Common, you've got Harpenden Arms, and you've got, I know that you're driving in, but then you've got the Pizza Express. Everything looks nice, even our loos look nice. So, yes, I would go. I'd go with the better.
So you would go for
Figure
5. So, does anybody else have any kind of preference on it? Rod?
No, I haven't got a full preference on these, but I just want to ask Dan. From the point of view of securing 2 bikes side by side, is figure 5 reasonable? Because on some of them, like the double loop, it's easier to put bikes side by side, and also on figure 6, on just, that was the Austrian stand double. I just really want to get an opinion on whether that's practical for 2 bikes side by side.
Yes, it is. Ideally, what you need, if you're looking at your bike, is something where you can stick a chain through the front wheel and then through the triangle. So if you're looking at the triangle there of the actual main frame, because that's the toughest and metal, so you need to cut through that or 2 places with the chain. You do that so that someone doesn't nick your front wheel, so it's malicious. And all you need is something that's at the right height to do that. So in that sense, both figure 4 and figure 5 work. But to be honest, the Sheffield stands in figure 1 work just as well for that kind of thing as well. You just need to have a chain, and most people do.
Thank you.
Sorry, I couldn't remember whether we decided that we needed 7 as opposed, because there's 4, isn't there, outside the Harpenden Arms at the moment?
The proposal was that we would take the 4 existing staples out from behind the Harpenden Arms, and then, because we had a small earmarked reserve for bike stands, then we'd increase the amount, because it was a large, to fill that particular area that was proposed by the original report. So that's the proposal one.
So then you'll see that if we do choose, for example, 5, it will exceed our budget. But I'm in agreement. I think it's an area that we need to look after, and I think I would be happy to go with the figure 5.
I think it gives us a cost of 10. There will be time we're talking about, for instance, earlier we were talking about concourse, and we're talking about what we might do in other areas of the town to involve parade. That's actually quite a generous discount. And these things aren't cheap, but a generous discount, and I think we should go for that. And I think it's just one of those things, public realm is really important. Harpenden has a reputation. People always say, oh, Harpenden is a very pretty little town. Well, I think, we have a responsibility in the town council to be custodians of that. And for bike use, I've got no problem with Sheffield stands here. They work, they do a job, but actually, also, if we can have something that's nice as well as secure, that's all grist to the mill.
Well, that's another good point about outside Pizza Express. It's very open. So, well, on the understanding that this will exceed our budget, that it will go to TNS, are we happy to go with the recommendation of style 5, the penny farthing stamp?
For how many?
Well, I think we go for 10.
Yes, that's right. That's what I want. Would like, rather.
So, those in favour of that recommendation? 10 penny farthings.
Galvanised or powder coated?
Well, you were saying powder coated?
I think that just tends to improve their lifespan.
Okay.
There is rust.
There is a huge difference between galvanised powder coated.
Sorry, can I just ask?
Yes.
I mean, it says here 10 of the galvanised penny farthings would cost £26 each, but we don't know whether 10 of the powder coated would be a reduction.
I think it would be a higher cost because the powder coat, if you look at the galvanised, is £135 each, as opposed to the powder coating, which is nearly £20.
We should get some reduction for getting 10.
Yeah, you're paying 15% more for the powder coated. I think if maybe we can negotiate that. But I'll leave that to this. So I've got, no.
Okay, are we ready to go to recommendation?
Well, I was going to say, if we didn't get a deduction on getting 10 of them, maybe then we fall back to 7. It's depending on the budget.
I think we should look at the budget and then see how many we can get.
I guess.
Because we're still going to consider the installation of them, which we've obviously,
Yes.
the quotas for 4, but how big an area we're going to need to...
And the making good of the area behind the apartment.
Well, we've got the 2 contractors' costs at the bottom,
Which
so they will increase.
That was just remove the existing ones,
I'm still a little concerned that we might be over-egging it a bit, being that I've noticed the ones outside the library aren't really being utilised. Even on a Saturday going past, I only saw 1 bike. So I would hate to put 10 cycle racks there and find it was very underused because it is the commuters predominantly using them. It's my only concern, really.
My understanding was not to put 10 there, but if there's a budgetary saving off by buying 10, we need to replace cycle racks in the future. It's better to take advantage of that saving now. But if we can't get that, then obviously there's no need to buy 10. So I think we should delegate to officers to actually work out if that saving is there, if it isn't, just by the amount we need. In terms of installation, well, figure 5 has 2 legs that go to the ground, so does figure 3, figure 2. Hang on, they all do. So I actually don't see that installation costs would increase between different styles.
Okay.
And don't forget you will have 4 staples, Sheffield style, free for putting somewhere else.
It may be very inappropriate to say that, but if I were buying these things for myself for a business or what have you, I would go to these people and say, look, we're thinking of 5, but, and we're thinking of the better ones, quality ones. If we were to buy 10, what's the discount we can do? Can we advise through Emma, ask the people, whoever is going to do the thing, to go approach it in that sort of manner?
Yes. Okay. So are we now ready for the recommendation? To which I think we have resolved to be that we will leave it to the officer's discretion how many we get, and we're looking for a discount.
Yes. That's right.
Those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Fare charges. Well, the recommendation is that they're not increased. Unless anybody has any strong feelings otherwise, I think that's probably very sensible.
Yes.
Yeah? With this recommendation, so I need a show of hands. Unanimous. Thank you very much. So the next one is the Food and Drink Festival. Again, you've all had a chance to read this, so I hope you've got some views about whether we think it's worth trying to stage another Harpenden Food and Drink Festival next year, or we think of either not doing it at all or going for, if we had a French or German market, that sort of thing, they would actually pay us money. So, anybody with any comments? David?
I was concerned how little help we got from district, considering we were linking in with their food and drink festival, we weren't even mentioned in their programme directly. And I do think if we're going to do something, we do it under our own umbrella. And that, having said that, because of the weather of the day, I thought it was one of the most successful things I've ever seen in Harpenden. Sadly, cars were parked everywhere, but and indeed most of the stands sold out long before the actual closing time. But I think with all food, it's a bit of a judgment on the weather and how far they're cooked in advance. But I think anybody who did attend and purchased anything was very impressed. Sadly, as you've got in your notes here, only 6 of the stalls were taken up by local businesses.
That's right. Yes, Rod and then Daniel.
Okay, I'm going to second David's comments there. It's very highly successful, I thought. A large number of families, so whatever we do, I'm in favour of doing something, and but I think we should be thinking about what we do with the children.
Okay.
I think so many of these things, it's great, you know, when you've got lots and lots of people turning up, but you know, thousands and thousands and thousands of people turning up isn't necessarily a guarantee that it's a success, because they could have turned up in their thousands to find there was nothing to buy, which is, and I've had fed back to me a lot of things. I definitely would agree that we shouldn't be going down 211, and wouldn't agree with 214, so it would be good to do something. I think it's one of those things that, you know, put the parents and the children will come, so to speak, if it's a suitable event that could appeal to people. Our own standalone food and drink festival, I do worry that actually that's a bit much to sort of do at short notice. I think that's, you know, we already have a huge Christmas carnival, we do lots of other big events in town. Yeah, is that biting off more than we can chew? If you have say a German food market, or you know, some kind of event like that, because the thing is, we've got the farmers market actually, which is an avenue for local business. My thinking is that if you have a food and drink festival that is reliant on local business, and let's say you don't have 4 stands for local businesses, but hey, 6, take it up, but then you don't get other interest from elsewhere because we haven't got the expertise, it could all be a bit of a damp squib. Get an established French or German food market in, because it's a different event.
Yes.
It's clearly distinct from St Albans and other areas. It pays for itself, so it's budget neutral. And they are, you know, they're going to be aware. They're not going to set up things. They're going to have done these things before, and it's something that, you know, people will come along and have a look at, and it will generate footfall anyway, which local traders will like, because it's people in the town centre that wouldn't otherwise be there. So my proposal would be 2 or 3.
Thank you, Michael.
Well, first of all, I'd say you know, the theme was very successful, but that was it really was did make the place very, very busy. I just tried hard to the SABP, as the St Albans whatever it is, economy driver, to get the thing. I got the word Harpenden put in. Originally they didn't have any. It was just the St Albans Festival, but it didn't. We get minimal spread, as you said, David. Then you say, well, what should we do here? I'm also very disappointed with the lack of our local businesses, which the apathy, but that is true. But again, and you know, we mustn't go on agreeing with Dan all the time. I would like to second his 213 thing. I think a French and German market, people constantly asking me for this, something different, something, you know, just, wherever I've been, whether it's Truro or other places, it really adds something to the whole atmosphere of the town. And so I would go very much, and I'd sit with Dan with make a brother, I'd go for 213.
Okay. Daniel and then Rod.
I was going to say, be more specific, you don't have to stop agreeing with me, Mike, but I'll hang back and agree with you next time. But can we sort of look at other possible, you know, foods, and you know, you've got Hungarian, but just definitely look at the field, because I would say French markets are great, love them, but they are a little bit, you know, last year's gimmicks for council, so German or other countries would be nice to explore.
Okay, Rod and Michael.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, I quite like the sound of this French or German market or something like that, but is it worth combining it still with the farmers market? I just wonder what advantages there would have,
I think it'd probably be a standalone.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, Michael was first and then Pip.
Oh, but ladies should be put. Here, I would go for the German market. I'll tell you why. Outside. they are desperate to link up with us. You will have a huge amount of support from their very wealthy town council there. They would welcome it with open arms.
Right, that's a good point, yeah. So,
Yeah, obviously I note that the food and drink festival is on the same day as the farmers market, which would definitely increase the footfall of it. So, but like Rob said, I would worry that having the German or French one on the same day would take away trade from the local traders. So I would be a little worried that the footfall would be lower if it was just French or German market. But if they're self-sufficient and they pay for it and there's no cost on us, I don't see why we don't give that a try.
May I just say that this, obviously, if members decide to go with the option for a French and German market, that is subject to additional report. We have to look at where it's located. Yes. It may have to run over a couple of days. It has been suggested new areas of common and what have you. So there's some work to still be done.
Understood. But we need to decide fairly quickly whether or not we're going to go ahead with the food and drink festival as of this year.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I think with that caveat, I think we're ready for a recommendation. So 2.1.1, those, shall we put it those against? So we do not want to be part of the food and drink.
I don't think yes.
So have I put it the wrong way around?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Thank you. We don't want it.
No.
Right. That was unanimous. And we don't want our own food and drink standalone.
The 2 and 3.
Unanimous. As an alternative, that is explored.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, we do want that one. That's again unanimous. And then therefore 2.1.4 is not.
Definitely not.
Yeah, don't need. Splendid. Thank you for that. Paths across town green. So, recommendation whether it's necessary and appropriate to widen the pedestrian pathways across Leighton Green and the common in front of Park Hall. Michael.
I don't mean to do too much hogging here, but I've got personal thoughts about personal feelings about this. We have two main paths, which there's one across Leighton Green over where the bomb shelter is. That's to the Embry Lane car park and the doctor's surgery to Leighton, and then we've got the big one from the zebra crossing to the town hall. It is far too narrow. I've had problems there. I walk on two sticks, and if a buggy is coming to me, being gentlemanly, because they can't put a buggy into the wet mud and things, I step, and I won't exaggerate, but in the last 3 years I've had 2 falls because of that. And I have to say, as a disabled sort of person, I think it is far too narrow. But unfortunately, at the Embry Lane one, or that, the bottom end of it, it's because the tree roots are down, they've got to have some things done there. So and I also think these are very important pathways.
Yes, they are.
They are very important pathways, and they should be double the size. And so I know I've got a personal thing in that, but I thought that it helps illustrate the problem and why it's a good idea to do this.
Daniel.
Well, I entirely agree with what Mike said. Good as a word. But I think one of the problems as well is that it's developed this huge camber on it as well.
Yes.
Which I've often thought, I'm quite happy on my feet, thank you very much. But still, there have been times when I've actually got out of the way. I wish to just make a reflection. Some of it is just people being very rude, actually, and not walking single file. And they're just people who are just merrily doing their own thing, and they just don't care. And I've just in very rainy weather, I've just stepped off the path and watched people go past and I'm not there. But I do think Michael's right. I think actually, I think the Leighton Green one, I think that's probably on Leighton Road, that's got to probably be done in size because it is very heavily used whilst outside here. However, the one on Little Leighton Green, let's call it, I think possibly that maybe just, that probably needs a couple of feet really, possibly not double the size.
I do think this has implications what members decided this evening about these two paths. Whilst the one on Leighton Green that leads up to the doctor's surgery is very well used because obviously up the Avonbury Lane car park. There are obviously further paths. There's a path near outside Thorns, there's one outside Sainsbury's, there's one by the War Memorial. There are other paths that members may want to consider as part of this. And I think the one on Leighton Green, if you go opposite Manor Pharmacy there, will be constrained by the actual tree there.
Yes, I can picture what you need, Phil. Yeah, rather than
Okay, I was just going to say, in terms of data, I think that the one we're considering here, there's certainly in 3.6, someone fell over, you fallen over, Michael. It's just that it seems to me that maybe this one has seen more accidents occurring on it than any other path. You know, so basically, I think that in a sense we were lucky when somebody didn't make a claim. It could have been far more serious. So it seemed to me that where people have definitely had a problem, that's where we want to fix it. And the other areas, potentially, yes, they're a problem, but I would recognise there's a financial implication.
well, yes.
So basically, maybe because of the financial constraint, we should stay with where we've had problems and fix that.
No, I tend to agree that there isn't a footfall on the other paths. I mean, it was right to mention it. And the other thing is with those other paths, it's a narrower stretch of road. You know, there's a longer way around, but it's not actually long at all, sort of thing. Whereas with these, you've got to go all the way around both greens if you don't want to walk across the grass. With the large tree on Leighton Green, what I was thinking of is on the other tree there, we had obviously the drama with the famous oak tree towards the west of that green, southwest, and the potential to slice up triangle, which I posed and plan didn't go ahead. So I think that would have potentially been environmental vandalism. But you could expand the path 2 foot towards the south, which wouldn't have necessarily an impact on that tree. But looking at the path, I mean, if you go, something needs to happen. It either needs to be replaced with the same or something slightly bigger, because it's falling apart. You can see where it's camber is, you know, starting to just break up completely. With the path on the common on Leighton Road, I don't think you can necessarily even look to think got that issue. But that again, we need to do something with that, because again, there are parts where it's just breaking up. And I've watched, you know, even when there's nobody there, I've watched some, you know, infirm people in wheelchairs and that struggle to get along with that.
True, and I think at the moment they're tarmac, but we do have a problem with so we ought to be investigating different kinds of surface. It doesn't have to be a tarmac replacement. Michael?
Just really quickly, I have actually, because the one that's more, well, for me it was more important, but it's also from another group called the Access Group, which is Access St Albans, which represents disabled people, users in of roads and access to shops and all sorts of things. But they have actually mentioned this, and the particular one I'm concerned with is the one on Leighton Green.
Right. Okay.
Sorry, yes, I actually agree with Michael there. I think even if we've got known reports or councillors that have had falls themselves, I think it's something that the Town Council should be looking at, improving immunity for especially disabled users all around the town. So whether this is a rolling policy that we actually start to look at all of our access across the town, and like Rod said, maybe deal with the ones that we've got known issues to start with. But I think we should actually look at them all, and it should be something we should improve across the town. Yeah, totally agree.
Okay, so the two recommendations would give us this. It would concentrate on the first two, and then it also gives the option of looking for a different flexible surface. So with that in mind, can I take your show of hands for the two recommendations? Unanimous, thank you. Tree policy, with this one, literally, if anybody has got any comments, anything that's in bold is what's been added. I've had a look through, I'm quite happy with it, but if anybody else has any comments to make, feel free. Daniel?
When this was originally discussed, one of the areas that I was most concerned about was actually a potential risk to the barland trees. Barland trees, I think, are another, well, I think we're going to do the running theme this evening. The barland trees, I think, are an iconic image in Harpenden from both directions. And we had a problem, obviously, a few years ago with high winds and rain that had seen we needed to sort of engage in a bit of light pollarding or composting near the top of them. It would be good to have something that actually specifically highlighted the barland trees, which have been there for hundreds of years. Everybody knows them.
Yes.
I only know of one former councillor who said, "What barland trees?" But they should have done their research. You can see them in ancient daguerreotypes, you can see them in paintings of Harpenden. It would be good to have something there that actually provided for them being tested, their well-being looked after, pretty much every year actually, because if, for instance, we knew one of the bigger ones was diseased, personally I think it would be tragic if we dealt with it in the way we have with the other tree, which is like, oh, it's diseased, we've got to take it to hounds, and then nothing happens for a few years. It should be a case that we have early warning of that, so we can do things like potentially replace with something that's a mature tree that will grow up.
Well, I think the report covers that, because if you look at Zone 1, it does specifically mention barland trees, and then look at the bottom of the page, you've got frequency of inspection, so that's annually and after winds in excess of 40 miles an hour, plus every 5 years. So I think that does cover the barland specifically.
But I'm thinking about actually, does it actually provide for a budget to do that? Because this evening would be naughty financially, but if there are things that, trees, does it actually provide an earmarked? Forgive me if I missed it.
No, I was going to say, I'm looking at the budget, to be honest with you. I'm sure we have something on the tree works, 27,500. Well, the actual for last year, coming into this year, is 20,645. So it's 7,000 increase.
Just thinking that in the past, when we needed to have not necessarily movement, but radical tree surgery, that it's not cheap and it can choose up very quick.
True, but if they're being inspected annually, then that won't be a consideration.
The purpose of inspecting annually would be to see if there's something that we do need to treat though.
Yeah.
So if we need to treat, you could almost say there's not much point in expecting them annually if you've not got the budget set aside to treat things when they're there.
I think an increase 7,000, quite good, quite healthy.
Do you think so?
I think more.
I was going to suggest 10, but...
Right, well, we'll put that in the budget bit. Okay, yeah. Anybody else with any comments? So are we happy with all those additions that have been made in bold?
Yes,
Excellent. In which case, recommendation is to review it, and we have no suggested amendments. Those in favour? Thank you very much. Perfect. Westfield allotment tree work access bar. Again, everybody's read it. You can see what the problem is. Thank you. So the recommendations are the Town Council do not progress the tree work for the contractor, and a visual inspection is made to assess whether the work can be done in-house. Basically, district is saying unless it's an absolute emergency, they won't pay for it. And our men are qualified?
Yes.
I think, sorry, if I'm allowed to. I think what the recommendation is quite simple. It just is do the most sensible thing at the moment. If the district council stated their thing, and as I said in 3.4, this might be achieved with using the council's maintenance team, etc. So I think it's just a sensible recommendation.
Yes, I do. I think let them have a look and see what they can do.
It's nothing controversial at all.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I'd just like to mention again, obviously I've got a personal interest in the trustee of the Harpenden Gardening Club. Would like to say, although it says inspection is made to assess whether the work can be done in-house, if that's decided that it can't be done in-house, will then a recommendation come back to us, so it won't just be we won't do the work.
No, it will come back to us.
Yes.
Okay, so could I take show of hands for the recommendations? Unanimous. Thanks very much. We could go to the addendum and do the budget last, because I need people awake for budget.
It's only another 2 hours.
Yes. So if anybody has any comments to make, we'll have a quick look at the Westfield Task and Finish. I've already pointed out that 10.3 on the minutes for the 5th of November are wrong. So when we agree the minutes, that paragraph will be taken out. So does anybody have any comments to make on that? Yes, sir.
On the terms, could I talk about terms of reference as well while we're here? Obviously I appreciate it's a bit different to the draft version that we approved in the meeting.
Yes.
I just wanted to double check where it says we've got point 1 is to consult with residents, and point 2 is to consult local residents.
So you just mean put in local? No,
I mean, what was the point 1? Was that the consultation that already took place last summer?
It was, and they were local.
That. And so to consult local residents and stakeholder groups is the Task and Finish group meetings we're having at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I noticed that you've crossed out relocation of existing there, which I don't think that was part of what we had mentioned before in the draft. So I'm not quite sure why it's been put in this one and then crossed out. But I think that's probably something we should mention, because obviously we have discussed relocation of existing equipment, so it's not just better use of the existing space. We are actually going to be discussing and recommending perhaps some relocation of existing equipment. So I think perhaps that needs to actually remain in there.
Okay, so we could reinstate relocation of existing to create better use of the existing space. To create better use of the existing space. People would have to use that amendment.
So leave relocation of existing equipment to make better use of it. Yeah. And also, although it says with all expenditure referred back for approval, what we have done is we've missed out the actual spend that's already taken place before these two meetings. So although they're not in the minutes, obviously we have already had the cost of the part of the tendering process. So somewhere we need to either, I don't know whether that goes.
That will show up in the budget that we have to draw up. So we've got the tenders back and we know what budget we need. Then we'll have to write out that we've already spent 2,000.
Okay.
Yeah, it will be included.
Okay.
Yes, Rob. Yeah.
I'm quite happy with that change of wording for relocation. It's just really, we may decide in the end as we work it that we may not want to relocate something, that's something new. So I'm just saying, keep it.
And possible relocation.
Possible relocation, yes.
There you go. Are you all right, Ellen?
Yes, that's fine.
Thank you.
Fine. So can we go straight to recommendation now on this? Those in favour? No, do we need that? No, we're just receiving them. I apologise, we're just receiving them. Okay, so now we get to the exciting bit, which is budget. So, first of all, do we have any amendments? And the one thing that I'm a little concerned about that's not specified in the budget is, of course, Westfield Recreation. And I don't know how best to go about making sure. I mean, obviously, Policy and Finance has to sign off on it, but I would have thought it would come under Environment.
You as the Environment Committee could make a recommendation that you would like to see a sum of money included in the budget for the Westfield refurbishment, and then that would go to the Policy and Finance at the beginning of December, and then they approve or not the budget that you're putting forward.
Would we need to put a specified figure?
Well, you've got to consider where else you're going to be getting funding for the actual play area itself. I understand you've talked about Section 106 monies that are available within the town, also grant applications as well. Then there is obviously there are earmarked reserves.
Yes.
Which you would have to apply to Policy and Finance anyway to have released.
Yes. But I don't want to be tied down at the moment to say we only want 60,000. It might be more. So do I need to give a specific figure, or can we say we will be applying?
I think you should say we will be applying.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one sort of obvious thing that struck me. Is anything anyone would like to raise? Daniel's trees?
Yeah, sorry to be a pain. I just wanted to look into sort of the most sensible way to do this.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, it's great that we've improved or increased the budget for tree works to 27,000. And I think that over the years, you know, lots of councils have mentioned different areas, and we've had some problems with disease trees, you know, very large trees we've had to take out. With the barland trees, rather than just sort of whacking on willy-nilly into the budget, considering the contingencies, is it acceptable to create under one-off growth items a new earmarked reserve, specifically that reserves money in the event that we need to spend a large amount of money on barland trees?
Would we want to?
I think there's quite a large earmark reserve for commons anyway, that could therefore be used for replacing any large mature trees.
I was thinking of sort of specific insurance policy, but
Did you want sort of a subsection of tree works?
yeah, or even if it was just a line under the tree works that said that specifically mentioned that. It's just, you know, we've been specific in the tree policy, which is what I wanted.
Yeah.
But it would be good to sort of provide the specifics of that policy. That would make it more than just words.
Okay. In which case, would you want to sort of 5,000? Or you said 10, didn't you?
Well, as in, so the increase was 7,500,
Yeah.
to increase it to 10. But then that's doing it, you know, as a budget item, whereas actually, you know, maybe that's not what we need.
Okay.
Is it more sensible to have a one-off that stays there in stasis if needed, and then points out there is a large contingent for the common, but then, you know, if we get another, you know, I mean, it was Storm Barney last night, but if we get another Hurricane Susan or whatever it's called, you know, that could take out lots of trees and all sorts of parts of the common.
True.
And indeed, actually, you only need a few of those pines, for instance, on South Down Road come down, and you have to get rid of those quickly, and you have to pay top dollar, because it's a safety issue for highways.
Yeah, quite right. So, Emma, what's the best way of doing that? Just have a little subsection in the... Yeah. Happy with that?
Yeah.
Good.
So, did you have a figure in mind then?
Now
on the spot, so just an additional figure. I think if it's a subsection of the budget specifically for the barlands, then we've increased the tree works budget by 7,500.
Yeah.
And that's for all the trees. I don't know what would be reasonable, but 2,500 as a subsection. I'm happy to be guided by the committee to be on something like that.
Yeah, I don't have a clear idea. David, you had your hand up. Is that for this or a separate bit?
Oh, sorry, still on the budget, but on something which I know we've gone by.
Okay.
I think Harpenden South residents would be very unhappy if we took money out of reserve to refurbish Westfield playing area when they've spent a year raising £80,000 to refurbish Oakley Road by contributions. I agree with using 106 money, but I personally am reluctant to see. I would rather see the development of the Westfield play area coming from a contribution from the buildings that will be built on the allotment site. Whether a developer did that, made a contribution towards, my personal thoughts are to the play area, out of 106 money or whatever else it would come from. I think that to take 30, 40, 50, 60,000 pounds out of reserves just to give Westfield immediate refurbishment of their play area is a bit unkind to the money raised in the south. My own personal view.
I see where you're going, but of course you've seen the Marquis Lane are in here. There's a budget for Marquis Lane's playground.
I agree where it's put in budget, but it's not taking out of reserves, as far as I can see. I mean, this figure to me horrified me. It was a lot more than I was expecting to. I mean, I know it was only a suggested figure a minute ago. I thought we had sort of £30,000 in 106 money, 30,000 somewhere lying around, and I was happy for that to be used to it personally. and then the rest of it to be raised by any sources we could do, but not to be taken out of reserves. My own thoughts.
Yeah, I see where you're going with that. So at the moment, what we've got, we think we've got 40,000.
That's 106
and that's 106 plus
yeah.
at least one small grant.
Yeah.
We are looking at other grant funding streams, but I think we need...
I think we've got to be a bit careful here, because I think there would be a reaction from the south if the people saying, well, hang on a minute, why should Westfield be given anything if, out of reserves, when money had to be raised from Oakley Road?
Yeah, the district owns Oakley Road. Town owns,
yes, but we applied everywhere and it's this grey area to me. I don't think Joe Public out there realises who owns what.
Fair enough. Robin and Pip?
Oh,
Pip and then Robin.
Yeah, sorry, just from memory, I seem to recall that Westfield has got quite a long history, and I think probably the funds were almost promised to Westfield a long time ago. I don't know, no disrespect, Rod, I don't know how long ago you started fundraising for the ones in the south. But also I thought that we had earmarked reserves, particularly for Westfield, of 40,000, and then the F106 money would possibly be on top of that, and also we were looking for match funding. So I thought we had a base figure of 40,000 actually in earmarked reserves, and then we were trying to get the companies to match fund that. And then obviously suddenly the F106 money came on the table. I must admit, when I heard how much there could be available, I thought to now suddenly grab that pot all for Westfield seems unfair when there's two other sites across town. But I did think that original 40,000 had been earmarked historically for Westfield.
Yeah, that was my original understanding as well. And then I was told, no, it's F106 money plus grant. So that's why... that's how that
there's no Section 106 monies in South Ward. The Section 106 monies are for North and East. All out in West.
I thought it was up to 100,000. We thought it was possibly going to be available for the F106 money there. So does that mean we had no earmarked reserve for Westfield, if that was all F106?
Yeah, we got off on the wrong foot. I don't know, it was just my misunderstanding. I thought I was told that we were having 40,000 from earmarked reserve, but we're not. We've got 35,000 from 106, and we've got 5,000 from the small grant. So, but we are looking, obviously, to do the match funding with whoever we supply. And I have discussed with Chair Pina that we need to make sure this project happens. So we need a budget for it.
Yeah, that would mean that actually the Town Council are providing no funding for it at all.
Yeah, we need a budget for it.
Which is what Chair said, that she wants to put a figure in.
Yeah, I'm confused about how on earth all of that works in the budget. I have no idea.
So I would say that my understanding on Westfield first was that the companies involved said that they would be able to raise extra money. And I do agree with David's point actually, that people in the south won't understand any of this actually, and because also we're now collecting money for Magna Close as well, so not just Oakley Road. So there's been a struggle, and people have been putting, we've done door-to-door collections and all sorts of things.
Okay, Michael and then Daniel.
Well, I think this is, I have to go a little bit against this is where we as Town Council have to make a bold decision. We have made a commitment, I felt for a long time now, that Westfield would be pursued and the best that could be done to uplift that recreational area. And I just think that whatever it is, we can stop and say, well, here, but somewhere along the line, this has been for years, we have said we would improve this. And that, and as Pip was saying, I actually thought that I was getting a bit concerned because of the S106 and the what was an earmarked reserve, but I was happy to see this 80,000 thing clear, and I don't want it diluted in any way.
Okay, Daniel.
I find myself again, Michael again. I think I appreciate what David and Rod are saying, but we're one town, and every now and then we've got to put a large amount of expenditure into certain things. And ordinarily I'd agree, but I think, looking back at this, Westfield and our desire to provide affordable housing there began. It was always going to be that we wanted to regenerate what has, frankly, in the past been a depressed area. To put it bluntly, the west and south wards are the wealthy parts of this town. And I think, actually, if we're going to put some affordable housing there, the idea was that in the past, play areas up at Westfield, because it's gone through so many iterations. When I was at school, it was known as Westcat, and it was the latest thing. But, it would get reinvested in, and then it'd get vandalised. I think you'd hear about people training the Staffordshire Terriers to have stronger jaws by breaking the zip wire and hanging the terrier off the zip wire. That is this joke, by the way. That's a common report that's fed back to the police. If we are to have a development there, that allows it to be self-policed, would be a little overlook, the play area. I think it was always in the understanding it wouldn't just be a case of slapping in more housing just for the sake of it. It would be to have a cohesive, good idea of what that area was going to be, an area where you could have a quiet, peaceful place for people to sit and just enjoy being outdoors, particularly when they don't have access to private gardens, which a lot of dwellings around that part of Harpenden do not. And also an area where you'd have a decent park, and that again was going to work well. In my experience at the district, if you're going to have a decent park, sadly, of a particular size, you do need to be looking not in the tens of thousands, but actually closer towards 100,000. And I do appreciate, and I don't put down what's happening with the South Down Play Group, but I think this is a particular case that we have a historical commitment to actually to back up.
Sorry, I totally agree with, I think Westfield absolutely must be done. I'm just trying to think, is there a way in which we can try and obtain further funding,
Well, we'll certainly be pursuing additional funding. What I want to avoid is us finding out it's going to cost X and we're short. I mean, we can't afford to do that. Sorry, Pip.
Just thinking about what Rod said earlier, that's the same as they're still district owned, aren't they?
Yes.
So that would cause a problem. We wouldn't fund them at the moment if they're district owned, would we?
No.
That would cause a complication in that respect. Not wishing to not help you raise money, but I'm just thinking how that works.
Well, I'm surprised if it's the only amendment we wish to.
Oh, so about the budget?
Yeah.
Oh, I've got a comment.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, sorry.
Did we clarify that we want to put aside the major trees, though?
Yes, because we sort of...
We did it time tracks, we did, quite right. So you put forward 2,500.
Yes.
I don't have any strong feeling because I don't have enough knowledge of what my fault. So go with 2,500.
Yes.
Yeah, good. So, sorry, back to Westfield. Do we want to put a figure forward to P&S? And if so, how much?
I must say I'm confused now about how much we are.
Yes.
If we're still assuming that the companies can match fund some of it, if and why we're not going to put any towards it, if we're having now 35 from S106, 5,000 grant, that's 40,000.
Yeah.
And they will match funding that, hopefully by 40,000.
Yes.
So it's 80.
That's 80.
That's all you need.
Do we have to put that figure in the budget, or do we just put the budget that Town Council will put on top of that?
The on top. The on top. Because we're not paying for the whole thing from the market reserve. Yeah.
Can I propose a figure for the on top of up to 30,000? I mean, it's a budget, don't have to use all of it.
That's quite right. Yeah, that is a good point. We don't have to use it all, but if it's there and it's recognised.
Yes.
I mean, the last thing I think we want is to get to very near the end and then find, can't quite do it.
Going back to Magnet Close, if that park was transferred to Harpenden Town Council, then presumably we could ask for funds out of reserve for Magnet Close.
Yes, I suppose one might...
Except it wouldn't be an earmark.
I would understand ownership, yes.
Can I just make a point of it? If we're going to continue discussing the close mod, I need to actually leave because I'm a portfolio holder, so I don't feel comfortable continuing discussing a district budgetary matter when we're discussing the town council's budget.
Understood. Okay. Yeah. All right. So, is that all right, Emma?
Thursday.
Thursday. And they won't be using it. Okay, so you had some...
Yes, so obviously I'd like to declare again I've got a personal interest in it. I'm the trustee of East Harpenden Garden Club and I'm an allotment holder, but I'd just like to ask a couple of questions under allotment. Just where it's got the allocation of greens and common staff has increased, or the estimate is increasing for 16-17, so I ask why that would be. That's how if I'm reading it correctly.
Yes, you are. It increased from 8,000 to 10.
I'd have to check with the finance officer why there was a revised staff allocation. Off the top of my head, it probably could be the annual pay award. It could be that we do, all officers fill in timesheets, and it could be that more time is being spent on the allotments, therefore that's where the apportionment of officer time comes from.
Okay, thank you. If I could just have a comment by the side as well, under grounds maintenance and repairs maintenance, etc. It says earmark reserve for development of new sites, 22,000. Is that some historical earmark reserve or a new earmark reserve? I don't quite understand that.
I think this is an earmark reserve that would be a historical earmark reserve, and it could be for, I know that we're talking about the, taking over assets from St Albans District Council for Heath Close and also the Oakley Road, so it could be any work that needed to be done to those, above the general budget. So if there was any sort of fencing or something like that we could do.
Okay, but we already manage them, don't we?
They're not owned by us, but they come with
Don't we still manage them?
They come with the
They
Allotment
don't
Society, Shags look after
Yeah.
them.
So that, I don't think there'll be much difference in the general maintenance, will there? Is it possible to get some clarification on that?
Yep.
It sounds a lot of money, and I just don't recall it being historically mentioned before.
So clarification on the ground maintenance.
Well, that 22,000 yet, whether that's...
I don't think we do any ground, well, I don't know what we do in the way of ground maintenance on those particular sites.
Yeah, I was going to say, Shags has got 9 different sites, and there's a lot of tree pruning and hedge trimming takes place. So I could see how that sort of money is spent.
Okay.
With all in all, I think everything's very sensible here, actually. I'm just going back on the report, just a very general comment here. Going back on one or two of the things in the build-up to all the detail, the fees and charges. It says here, and I don't think we should feel guilty, under 6.1 it says the committee has a number of services where income is generated. Paying of member should bear in mind that not increasing income levels doesn't. It does, but hang on, it's supply and demand that decides the thing. It's market forces will decide, so we can't just, we don't have to be ashamed of it. And likewise, under the 6.3, where it's talked about car parking charges, and should be, I would say never increase it, because one of the joys of parking in Harpenden, you can't tell the thing. But again, it's people say, oh, we can park, it's cheaper in there. Park, and it's just a general point of it. So we don't need to be ashamed by not putting a charge up or doing something like that.
No, there's definitely pros and cons to So all in all, I would say that I think the budget is fairly healthy.
Yes.
And we do have sufficient earmark reserves for various things that need to be done. Unless anybody's got any more comments to make about that.
That's raised.
Yeah, Rob.
I know Dan's uncomfortable with making close thing, but I think that at some stage...
No, you have to stop. you have to
Okay.
stop. He's
Yeah.
explained that.
Okay.
Yeah. So at this point, I think I'm going to have to ask Rod and Pip to leave because they're going to be discussing the grants for the allotments working party.
Should we go and hide out there or that way?
Well,
It's
if
dark
you've
out
got
there,
a
so I'll
car,
go.
We'll go this way.
No, the lights are on, so you can,
Oh, I see.
you can go to the
Come on,
one.
Rob.
Oh,
That's
hold on.
one for you and
Thank you.
so from this you'll see that Shags have put in for exactly the same as they've had for the last 2 years. But the East Harpenden Gardening Club has increased what they would like, their request, from 2,500 to 3,000. Now we could put these forward as recommended as they are to P&F, or we could discuss why East Harpenden should get another 500 this year as opposed to any other value.
Particularly any particular reason?
They're saying it's for equipment.
Mowers and trimmers.
No, it's kind of like that. That's kind of a bit of a luxury on that, I think, isn't it?
No, I wouldn't have thought so.
No.
No, I wouldn't have thought so.
It's reasonable.
Yep.
I mean, going back over the thing of in 2012, 2013, it was we were over 3,000. So we've been close. The 2.5 is pretty low actually. If you look at over the last few years now.
I do understand historically there was back in 2011-12, there was a decision to reduce the grant, but then that was held in abeyance after a couple of years.
Personally, my view has always been that both organisations do a really grand job keeping those sites managed. I mean, they're beautiful allotment sites. You see what some other boroughs in other parts of the country call an allotment site, and it just looks more like a sort of mess. So I think they do a really good job, and the way they run everything, I don't think we should be begrudging the extra increase to EHGC. So I think we should go forward as requested.
Yes.
Well, the only other comment I'd make about that is that they're obviously more forward-looking than they've been for a while, judging by the meeting this morning. It's got better planning, I think, in place. I'm quite encouraged by that. In which case, shall we agree?
Agree to recommend.
Yes.
Agree to recommend.
Definitely.
That's unanimous. Thank you.
Would you mind going to get your
Of course.
fellow members?
And smile.
Okay, I don't think I have any individual comments. Do you have anything? Okay, well we're nearly finished, so we go to the recommendations. So 2.1 is subject to any amendments, so we have put in a couple of amendments to recommend it to the Quality and Finance Committee. Those in favour? Show of hands. Thank you, that's unanimous. What we're recommending, we're probably just noting, aren't we? 2.1.1. Don't quite see what the recommendation is there, to be honest with you. It just is what it is.
Yes.
Shall we note it? And, we haven't discussed, sorry, my apologies, we have not discussed Appendix 2. So that's right at the back, last page. So, for example, you'll see not next year but the year after, we've got 14,000 put to one side for resurfacing some of the horse rides. Marcus Lane extension of the local nature reserve, we've got a budget in there, which is sensible. There's a budget for Marcus Lane play area of 40,000. And fairly straightforwardly 8,000 for signs and things. And we've got 10 in the budget this year for the Baptist Springs HQ, 20 for next year's budget. Crabtree Fields, we've got a whole row of question marks because of course we don't know what's going to come back from any surveys you see. So when they're investigating the liabilities. So we don't know those yet, but I don't have any particular comments. Anybody else? No? Yes,
Just one thing, £8,000 for some welcome signs. boards at Batford Springs sounds really excessive to me. I mean, I haven't...
Seems on the high side, but I mean,
Yes.
it's the budget, so if they don't spend 8,000, we've got some money
They
back.
can be quite expensive, and I think it's the interpretation rules, the work that needs to go in, putting together the artwork, obviously the fact that we'll be working with the Batford Spring volunteers on that, but as the Chair said, it is a budget, it's a speculative figure.
It seems about right. If you look at the interpretation boards done by the ponds and the pond down here, they cost a good deal more. Because you want things hard-wearing and relatively vandal-proof, as well as, informative for education and things. So, 8,000 is about right.
Okay,
And coming back to previously, we're saying how much this is in boosting the image of Batford and everything else. I think, this is one of the areas we don't want to shortchange. I do agree that we've got to be tight on this one. You don't want to put nature in those, but I do think that just having a reserve, it doesn't mean we've got to do it. So.
Okay. So having had a quick look at that, then that's 2.1.2. So we've had a review.
Yes.
We haven't prioritised, we just went going with all of them really, and agreed on those growth items. So on that basis, can I show of hands for accepting that?
Yes.
Perfect. That is unanimous. And at 9:30 I think we're finished.